Leeds were relegated in 2023 after a very disappointing season. Then this season, they got themselves into the playoff final. And then they couldn't even score against Southampton and lost 1-0. Now I'm taking over as manager and I'm going to try and rebuild the club and restore their glory. My goals are to get them back in the Premier League and then survive in the Premier League for the entire 5 years. I'm going to try and win a cup, whether that's domestic or European. I'm going to try and qualify for the Champions League and buy multiple players for the club for at least £50 million to really show my intentions for this team to grow into the future. If you like these rebuilds, please make sure you hit that like button and of course subscribe to the channel for all future FM content. But for now, let's dive into it. We didn't make any transfers this season as this team is already too strong for the championship. Let's hope we can go at least one better than the Leeds team in real life, who unfortunately lost in the playoff final to Southampton. Our tactics this season will be essentially a 4-3-3, with one of the forwards being an inside forward on the left. Gruev, Gray and Ampadu in the middle of the park is a fantastic young midfield who could all become much stronger than the championship level. We didn't start the season off too well, with a pretty poor 1-0 loss away to Birmingham, followed by an exit in the Carabao Cup, and then we comfortably beat Millwall 4-1, before a boring 0-0 draw away to Stoke. One terrible 1-0 loss at home to Sunderland, and a 2-2 draw away to Ipswich means we are struggling in mid-table to start the season, but let's see if that continues or if we'll be in the Premier League next season. One season down and we have been promoted through the playoffs. And funnily enough, it's Southampton that we beat in the playoff final as we joined Leicester and Norwich in getting promoted. There are a lot of high point totals in this season in a very competitive league. Archie Gray and Jorginho Ruta scored our goals after we conceded an early own goal to lead us to a 2-1 victory. Both Ruta and Wilfred Gnonto were in the top scorers for the season in equal second place, while Somerville topped their assist charts by a long way with 20 for the season. We were knocked out in the quarter-final of the FA Cup to Blackburn, which is a little disappointing, especially considering it was 3-0. Checking out our schedule, and we had a period where we won 17 games in a row in all competitions, before we finished off the final 2 months of the season unbeaten to ensure our promotion again through the playoffs. Gnonto and Ruta were only joined by Joel Pirot in double figures for goals for this season, while we had 5 separate players in double figures for assists. Archie Gray had a superb season for an 18-year-old in the middle of the park. For next season, we have almost £50 million in our transfer budget, and the wages look very healthy as well at almost £400,000 a week. So that's what we can do for the upcoming season. On the way out in transfers, we raised just over £30 million, with more than half of that coming from Patrick Bamford going to Norwich for £15.5 million, and Darko Giabi for a potential £12.5 million. Al Ittihad came in big for Ilya Gruev, and it was an offer I just couldn't refuse. Tranmere and Greenwood are both sold for 7 figures as well. On the way in, we have a backup player, Alejandro Ramos, for very little money. Bruno Gomes comes in as a very solid option in the middle of the park from Curitiba in Brazil. He's already scored a goal for us in the 3 games that he's played. And Sheffield United went down last season, so he picked up their best defender, Anel Ahmedhodzic, for £18.25 million. He hasn't exactly started too well for us, but should be a great pickup going forward. And Denit Ertas is just a backup goalkeeping option at the moment, who should progress into the future. In the second part of the transfer window, we had 3 more players coming in, with the first being the Austrian left-sided fullback and winger, Alexander Prass. This guy is very good already, and should progress into the future as well. Luciano Rodriguez comes in from Liverpool in Uruguay as a backup attacking option, who could hopefully progress nicely going forward. For £3 million, that is a great pickup, and worst comes to worst, should get us a decent profit later on. And I would suggest our best pickup would be Alan Velasco coming in from Dallas for £6 million with a little bit of add-ons as well. He has come off the bench for a game and scored a goal for us already. As for the tactics going forward, I've mainly just changed around some of the roles for now, making the attacking central midfielder on the right instead of the left. Our best 11 looks like this, with Velasco slotting into the left wing role, and Price joining Ahmedhodzic as newcomers to the defence. We've had an interesting start so far, but we've scored plenty of goals. We lost at home to Fulham after a 95th minute goal. Mark Roca scored a brace in that game for us. We travelled to play Everton away and beat them 3-1 after they had a man sent off. And then we had a 3-3 draw at home to Brighton after being 3-0 down. We progressed in the Carabao Cup 4-2 against Wolves at home, and then had a 2-2 draw away to Bournemouth after Nonto scored in the 91st minute to equalise. Our first season in the Premier League is ahead now. Let's see how we can progress. And at the end of the third season, we finish in a respectable 11th place. All three of the promoted teams survived, with Brentford, Bournemouth and Fulham all getting relegated. Again, both of Nonto and Ruta were in the top 4 for goals in the season, this time with 18 and 16 respectively. Ruta also had 6 Player of the Match awards. One of the main issues this season is our defence. We conceded 8 goals on 2 separate occasions. Firstly, away to West Ham in December with an 8-1 loss. And then the second last game of the season when we lost 8-2 to Arsenal. Our Carabao Cup campaign ended in the third round with a loss on penalties to Sheffield Wednesday. And the FA Cup campaign ended when Wolves repaid the favour from earlier in the season with a 4-2 loss at the Molineux. A few weeks later, we then went and beat them 6-1 at home, followed by dishing out some revenge to West Ham by beating them 5-1 at home. Only Nonto and Ruta scored double-figure goals for us this season, and Somerville was the only player in double figures for assists with 11. Unfortunately, that is much lower than last season's output, but that's what you could probably expect for the first season in the Premier League. We have slightly more than last year with the transfer budget, but with slightly less in the wage budget. Let's move on to season number 3 to check out the transfers there. Season number 3, and the transfers for this year, we've managed to make a fair bit of money selling on Alejandro Ramos as he goes back to Peru for a decent amount of profit. Daniel James was sold to Saudi Arabia for almost nothing. I've tried to sell him all save and I just couldn't do it. It was a very, very tough job. But I managed to get £30 million in total for Joel Pirot and Bruno Gomez from Saudi Arabian clubs. Now checking the players coming in, and we have Sebastian Baselli, who comes in for £16 million. A very good right back who can also play anywhere across the back 3. Pablo Maia takes over from Bruno Gomez as our new Brazilian midfielder, coming in from Sao Paulo for £20 million. He's started 3 games in the league so far. The very pacey Nuno Tavares is coming in as another option on the wings and someone who can also play as a fullback. He had a fantastic season in Portugal last year, so let's hope for more of the same. And another midfield option is Martin Paero, who comes in for just under £12 million from Udinese. Another player who had a fantastic season last year, and hopefully he can improve his current rather low average rating going forward for us. And then the final 2 players coming in, Bento from Paranense in Brazil. He is a very solid goalkeeper. Mesle didn't really want to stay, so this guy's coming in as our new number 1. He's put in some fantastic performance in his native country so far, so hopefully he can do the job for us too. And I think the best signing for us this summer is the young French attacker Antoine Joujou from Le Havre for £22.5 million. He was a deadline day signing for us, but just look at the start to the year he had for his previous club. 5 goals in 5 games. He should be fantastic. Not going to change the tactic for this season, as I think I've improved the team to make it work. And I just love attacking football, even if it does lead to some hammerings. That centre-back pairing may be one that we need to improve in the near future though. In the league, we are 1-1-1. A draw to start the season at Leicester when Tavares unfortunately got sent off. Then a loss at home to Chelsea 2-0 was disappointing. We got knocked out in the League Cup, but as usual, I'm not too fussed with that one. And then we went to Burnley and hammered them 4-0 with 2 goals either side of the main break. Let's see what this does for us in season number 3. And at the end of season number 3, and we have improved all over. In fact, it looks like the league was far more competitive at the top to mid-table because the bottom 3 were absolutely atrocious. 8 more points and a much better goal difference is a great result for us. No one in the best stats for the season, other than Christensen, who had the most yellow cards. After knocking Man United out in the 4th round of the FA Cup 2-0, we then lost 4-0 away to Tottenham. Taking a look at the stats now, and we didn't have too many outstanding players for goals or assists. Nonto and Velasco both scored double figures, while no one had double figure assists. Archie Gray, however, had a fantastic season again with 9 goals and 8 assists. Just look how good he is looking as a 20-year-old already. Our transfer budget for next season is just over £50 million, but we may need to move some around with our wage budget, not really going to attract more than one decent player. So let's see what I can come up with for season number 4. Okay, at the end of last season, we sold Alexander Prass for potentially £10.75 million to Brentford, Rasmus Christensen for £11.75 million to West Ham, and a massive sale of Anel Ahmedhodzic for £35 million to Newcastle. 2 other big sales were Maximilian Gruber to Al Ittihad for just over £20 million, and Luciano Rodriguez for £11.25 million to El Qadsiya, which is a really good profit. On the way in, we have Renan Lodi for absolutely free from Saudi Arabia. A very solid option as a backup down the left-hand side, but someone who can handle being a starter as well. Oussama Targalain joins Juju as another player we have bought from Le Havre in France for £22 million. And he has started really well so far with a goal and a man of the match performance, mainly playing in the base of midfield. Francesco Pio Esposito comes in, mainly as a backup to the strikers, but he has fantastic technique, heading and finishing for when he gets a chance on the field. He is our centre-back replacement, and it's Vital from Internacional in Brazil for £20 million. He has started well for us already, after having some wonderful seasons in his home country recently. And finally, I think my best pickup for this summer, Luka Sucic is going to be a new midfield partner for Archie Gray. This guy looks like he'll be great in the middle of the park, and started in the Carabao Cup where he picked up an assist. The tactics this season have changed a little, pushing the left winger up top and making one of them a false 9. This is something that should be more suited to the team, as we have plenty of good attacking options for now, and Alan Velasco is actually really good in that false 9 spot. It has been mostly a fantastic start for us this season. We've progressed through to the 4th round of the Carabao Cup, with wins over Wolves, and then a 4-0 win away to Fleetwood Town. But the Premier League, we started with a 4-3 win away to Brighton, all 3 of their goals coming after we'd scored our 4th. We beat Crystal Palace 1-0 at home, with new signing Targalain scoring the only goal. We went to West Ham and unfortunately lost 3-1. But then we hosted Brentford and beat them 7-3, with Alan Velasco scoring 4. In fact, it was 3-3 going into the 90th minute before we scored 4 goals. Great start to the season that currently sees us in 2nd place, so let's hope we can stay in the European places. And the end of season number 4, and it's another improvement into 9th place. And again, 62 points is sometimes enough to get you a few places higher than that, so it's been a great season, especially considering we've qualified for the Conference League. We were the 2nd highest goal scoring team for the year, but we did concede plenty of goals too. Unfortunately, Chelsea knocked us out in both cups, with the FA Cup knockout being in a replay on penalties. In the league, after 8 games, we were on top of the table, beating Spurs, the eventual champions, 3-2 at home after being 2-0 down at half-time. But we were very up and down in the league after that, lots of high-scoring games though, and 2 2-0 wins to end the season against Southampton, and then Leicester definitely helped us get into Europe. We had 5 players get into double figures this time for goals, with Ruta, Nonto, Juju, Velasco and Gray all getting at least 10 goals. Meanwhile, Tavares, Ruta and Nonto all had double figure assists this season. Our transfer budget has been relatively consistent, as we have just over £55 million this time around, and we have plenty of value in the team should we need to raise more funds. So here we go then, a big season 5 coming right up. Alright, the transfers now. I managed to raise a lot of money this time round, with Pablo Maia going to Stoke for £37.5 million. Jack Harrison was sold for just £1 million. Somerville had a good couple of seasons, but now he's moving on to Watford. And Piero is going out to West Brom for just under £5 million. And then Ampadu, who unfortunately wanted to leave when City were interested, was sold for a potential £42 million. After the changeover of season, I sold Bento to Aston Villa and Meslier to Alcadzia, meaning I must have done something big in between the sticks. Andy Horwood is a new gen player as a backup, but he looks like he is going to be phenomenal. And then we have the best goalkeeper in the game that starts as a teenager, Guillaume Restes, who looks absolutely superb. I paid £62 million for him from Toulouse, well worth the money. A couple of backup options come in with Thiago Helguera from Nacional in Uruguay and Daniel Iverson as a backup goalkeeper from Leicester. He was loaned to us last season and I paid the fee to keep him. I've brought in Samu on loan for AC Milan to be a backup to the midfield this season. He's a really solid option for the Premier League, so this is a smart pickup for the final season, especially for how little we essentially paid for him. Then two huge free transfers coming in with the wonderful Michael Olise from Crystal Palace. And while we don't have a position for him at the moment, I'm retraining him up front to hopefully be another attacking option for us. And then the amazing Roger Ibanez is coming in on a free from Saudi Arabia as another big option at the back. He has been superb in this save and should hopefully provide that defensive stability that we need this season. Diego Alfonso is another new gen player that will be a backup for us this season, but he looks incredible already for a 19-year-old fullback and should actually get some game time. And finally, Vanderson comes into the side as a massive improvement to our fullback situation. Just look at those physicals. This guy is going to be a difference maker for our team this season. So a very slight change to the tactic, with the right back and left back becoming fullbacks on support this season, but mostly everything else being the same. I did increase the line for our team this year, so hopefully we should have a far better side this season. The schedule shows us with all greens in the Premier League this season, starting off with a ridiculous 6-3 win against Forest. Nanto scored 4 in that game. We then had a 2-1 win against Brentford and a 2-0 win against Brighton. We have progressed through to the Conference League after beating Brann 4-0 away, which then meant we just needed to hold out for a draw, which is what we got, 2-2 at home. That means we'll be playing Sevilla, Lech Poznan and Jagiellonia at home, as well as Lon, Panathinaikos and Kasimpasa away from home as our European fixtures. It's a big season coming up. Can we win a trophy or qualify for the Champions League? Let's find out shortly. And we have come in 7th place in the league this season, progressing every single season in this rebuild. While we haven't qualified for the Champions League, I think our league progression has been successful. Wilfred Nanto scored 19 goals in the league and had a 7.36 average rating, and had 8 Player of the Match awards to be in the top players for each of those categories. Erling Haaland had 38 goals, which is just incredible. Moving on to the other competitions now, and it is an amazing season, winning both the Conference League and the FA Cup. In the league phase, we had 5 wins and a draw to qualify in 3rd place overall behind Rijeka and Fiorentina. In the round of 16, we beat Sevilla 7-4 on aggregate after a 4-2 home win in the 2nd leg, Velasco and Nanto both getting doubles. In the quarterfinal, we beat Zurich 4-1 overall after beating them 3-1 in the home leg, with Nanto, Velasco and Ruta all scoring goals. Armstrong Oko Flex is the most incredible name, and he scored for Zurich against us in this game. We then went on to beat Werder Bremen 8-3 overall. A 5-0 hammering in the first leg was more than enough for us to seal our place in the final, and then a 3-3 draw in the second leg saw us through. So then on to the final, and here we see Juju scoring in the first half after this wonderful team move. Then in the second half, Vital scored from a corner to seal the trophy for us with a 2-0 win over the Italian side Fiorentina, and we are the European Conference League winners. In the FA Cup semi-final, we beat Newcastle United 2-0 with our incredible youngster Archie Gray scoring just after half-time, with Juju scoring the second. And then what a day at Wembley for the Leeds United fans as we beat Man City 4-2. Juju's first goal capped off another wonderful team move by our players. And then Juju's second goal was the sealer for us in the 90th minute in a match we didn't really have too much of the ball up front. Nanto had a superb season up front with 34 goals, followed by Juju on 27. Velasco, Gray and Ruta all scored in double figures as well, so the team was really humming in the attacking zones. In the assist column, we have Juju, Vanderson, Velasco, Sucic and Nanto all getting at least 10 assists. Some huge average ratings for our players this season as well, and Vanderson was a fantastic purchase this season. So let's recap the top 5 signings for this rebuild. In first place is the wonderful young attacker Antoine Joujou with an A rating. He took a little while to get going, but once we went to the all-out 4-3-3 stuff, he really came into his own. 27 goals and 17 assists in the last season is amazing. In second place with an A rating as well is Lukas Sucic, who came in with 2 seasons to go and was superb as a partner to Archie Gray, with over 7 ratings in both seasons. In third place with an A rating, but ranked slightly lower because he was only for 1 season, is Vanderson. He was incredible for us with 15 assists in the left fullback role. He was well worth the £75 million purchase because without him, I don't think we win trophies in the final season. In fourth place with an A- rating is Alan Velasco. He had some really good seasons after coming in from FC Dallas. He was our third option as a striker in the first 2 seasons, and then often played up front in the false 9 role, which is where he really excelled with 21 league goals over the 2 seasons as a support striker. In fifth place with a B+ rating is Nuno Tavares, who is a superb pickup down the left side of the park, moving into the fullback role permanently once we went with 3 up top. Tavares was a consistently good player throughout the whole 3 seasons that he was with us. And lastly, let's check those goals for this rebuild. And of course, the first goal was to get promoted to the Premier League, and we did that straight away by winning in the playoff final. The next goal, of course, is to survive the entire time, and we did that pretty easily, may I say. I had a goal of trying to win either a domestic or European Cup, and I won one of each. In that last season, we won the FA Cup and the Europa Conference League. I did have a goal of trying to qualify for the Champions League. We didn't quite do that, but for the season after this rebuild, we will be in the Europa League. And in that final season, we managed to buy 2 players over £50 million, being Guillaume Restes and Vanderson, who are both crucial to ensure that we won 2 trophies in that season. Thank you everyone for watching once again. On the screen right now will be my rebuild for Southampton, where we have an incredible final season. If you like what you've seen today, please make sure you like the video and of course subscribe to the channel for all future content. This channel is been going wonderful lately, and let's keep it continuing, all with your help. You make sure you have yourself a wonderful day.